Oftentimes when you talk about Batman media, a lot of times it's the Batman Arkham series that gets its flowers, that gets its dues, and rightfully so. That franchise is absolutely fantastic and has brought a lot of things to gaming that we still see today, even though the last one came out 10 years ago, which is absolutely crazy to think about. But today we are not giving the Batman Arkham franchise its flowers. However, we are giving a different Batman game its flowers, one that's extremely underrated and for some reason doesn't really seem to get the love that it deserves or that we think it should get. And that's Batman the Telltale series. This game orchestrated a really good story, right? Something that Telltale was really well known for at around 2012 when they came out with The Walking Dead. However, this game kind of came out during a time where Telltale was in its decline when Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 3 was coming out, and that game, in a lot of people's eyes, was an absolute dumpster fire. A lot of people just didn't like it, didn't want to see it. But Batman the Telltale series was a very good game, a very good story that still holds up to this day, and was a very good twist on what Batman's character usually is. This kind of brought into the life of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and how they can kind of both be utilized together in unison as opposed to being two separate personalities, and how the family was kind of turned out to be dirtier than we thought. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe for more content. In today's video, we're going to be going over the perfect origin story, which is Batman the Telltale series. At the very beginning of this game, it's very common in Batman media, and this game also kind of, plays into that, of the cops not really liking Batman, right? They don't really want anything to do with him. They actually just try to shoot him all the time, it seems like. They don't even try to arrest him. They just straight up try to shoot him, it seems like. And yeah, they don't like him, which is very common in Batman media. And it's because of the fact that they think he's a vigilante who can kind of just do whatever he wants. And to be fair, to their point, Batman does kind of act that way sometimes. So I can kind of see their point, and I can kind of see why it can cause problems within their justice system. If they have a vigilante going around making arrests and stopping criminals, that there's a possibility that their case can be contaminated on some sort of technicalities. I'm not a lawyer, but I imagine there's some sort of loopholes that can be exploited if Batman's the one making these arrests. And on the flip side, you have Bruce Wayne, the playboy millionaire, the golden child of Gotham, the guy who saw his parents gunned down when he was just a child, and it's something that remains very, very relevant and is mentioned very often throughout the course of this game. But as we later find out, it turns out he may not be some golden boy, that his family was in fact dirty, that Thomas Wayne had ties to the mob, he had ties to the mayor, he had ties to Falcone, and he was not exactly the best person in the world, to say the least. And despite the fact that Bruce was not aware of his father's corruption, or that his father was actually ending people's life, being a criminal, whatever you want to call it, the public doesn't understand that. To them, they just think that he's just dirty just like his father, because of course they're not just going to blindly believe that he didn't know about his father's antics, or what was actually going on behind the scenes, and you can't necessarily blame them for that. But this in turn does create, like I've titled this video, the perfect origin story, digging down from the bottom up. Literally, as the role of Batman, having to earn the trust of the cops and, the lawyers and every sort of political figure around, as well as having to dig his way from the ground up as Bruce Wayne, hitting rock bottom with everybody, even his own company, turning their back on him, and proving that you could still come back, is the perfect origin story to set the ground for what Bruce Wayne truly stands for, and what he is truly about, and that he's not just some dirty, corrupt person just like his father. And while this may seem to be a bit of a stretch and perhaps even a touch preachy, is even if, take Bruce as an example, that if you're down in the dumps and you're struggling with life and you've hit rock bottom and you just don't know where to go, anybody can do it. Anybody can get up and, fight for it every single day. And that's what Bruce had to do in this game in order to get to where he was able to be okay with the cops as Batman and get to a place where he can secure his reputation and secure the fact that he was not corrupt and that he was not a criminal and that he once again could regain his status as the top of the food chain in Gotham. And while it may be different compared to you, where you might not be a rich playboy billionaire and you may not be Batman, but you can still dig your way up through times of toughness and triumph, you could still dig back. But on top of the Bruce Wayne and the Batman aspect of the game, it also creates a really good origin story for the villains. I'm going to go into a couple different ones, starting off with the Joker. The Joker's origin story is straight up perfect from a standpoint that he's not even Joker yet. When you meet him, he's just John Doe. He doesn't give out his name to anybody, so we just call him John Doe. Even though we know eventually he's probably going to turn into the Joker, I think from a standpoint, like, when you're playing this game, you probably have that sense of belief of, I'm going to be able to change him. I'm going to be able to make sure he doesn't turn into the Joker. We don't have to do this whole yin and yang, oil and water, two threads from the same stitch type of deal. And Joker, aka John Doe, even gives us some useful information regarding the Vales, seeing as we actually come to the scene of the crime where we discover that Vicky Vale actually killed her foster parents, the Vales, in an attempt to basically secure Mr. Vale's warehouse as a way to store her secret stuff. I don't want to say the word on YouTube, but secure her secret sauce, I guess you can call it, which all these steps taken eventually helps us in order to capture Vicky Vale and help us stop the Children of Arkham. So John Doe was an ally who eventually could become a criminal or a vigilante in the second season, but he had a really good origin story where we're not meeting him where he's already transformed into the Joker. We kind of can mold him into a specific direction based on how we treat him. And I like that from Telltale. That was creative. That was something that we don't usually get out of them. Or how about Catwoman's origin story, where we meet her on the rooftop, she's doing her Catwoman stuff, but this is where we kind of get into the game of the yin and the yang, where, you know, Batman's kind of chasing her a little bit, Catwoman enjoys the chase, enjoys the thrill, enjoys the fun that which Batman is able to give her. I mean, you even get the option to do some dirty stuff with her in this game, and it's all about that chase with Catwoman, right? She ends up leaving you regardless, but it does still create a good origin story. The game does a good job of making you kind of actually care about her. If you're someone who's kind of into the Batman lore, and you're into, like, the Batman-Catwoman relationship, this game does a good job of making you actually intrigued. But the most important villain that we get out of this game is actually Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, because at the beginning of the game, he's just your friend who you're trying to help campaign to make him your mayor. You want to get Mayor Hill out of office, you're sick of the corruption. So instead, you want to bring Harvey Dent, the DA, in. And this is before all the mental health problems and the, I don't know if it's multiple personality disorder, I don't know if it's schizophrenia, you guys can let me know down in the comments, I'm not 100% sure on that. Whatever it is that Harvey's dealing with, the game kind of starts before all these problems kind of start and end up taking place. And as the game goes on, after the events of which Harvey Dent's actually injected by the Children of Arkham's chemicals, I'm going to call them, he actually kind of becomes very erratic. This kind of causes him to become that multiple personality type person, the Two-Face that we see. Now, there is a cool option that if you do not choose to save Harvey Dent at the end of episode 2, he will become Two-Face, but that's just kind of an optional thing. He kind of does become Two-Face regardless of which one you pick. It's just kind of the actual visual is what's kind of the most important thing in that sort of choice, and it's actually a very cool decision. Which, after this incident with the chemicals, Harvey Dent, like I said, becomes a lot more erratic. He becomes a lot more crazy, and he becomes more and more crazy, and you see more signs of his Two-Face behavior as the game goes on, in which eventually we do actually have to take him out because he does try to seize the Wayne Manor. It's personal, right? Because of the fact that Harvey Dent is actually doing it with Selena Kyle, or at least they are dating in some sort of capacity, or he thinks that they're dating in some sort of capacity, that Bruce, if he does do the deed with her, it becomes very personal. Even if he just spends the night and doesn't do the deed with her, it still becomes very personal because Harvey gets the impression that they're just doing it on the side, and that he betrayed his best friend, which sends Harvey into a spiral, which eventually we have to stop Two-Face and take him out for good. However, I did almost forget one of the most important friendships in this game, which is actually Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin. These two were friends since childhood, Bruce Wayne and Oswald Cobblepot. However, they ended up growing apart over the years, and Oswald kind of grew up to become this, like, criminal. He's not fully the Penguin, but he's about to turn Penguin at the start of the game, and he's not your typical short little fat midget Penguin, but that would have been kind of cool to see. No, this Penguin can actually fight and actually deal with things for himself. He's part of the Children of Arkham with Vicky Vale in this game, which I thought was a bit of a unique partnership, but hey, I'm all down for it. I'm happy to see it. And actually, in the third episode of the game, when Bruce is at his absolute lowest, Oswald Cobblepot comes in and basically takes Batman's company from him, or Bruce Wayne's company, I guess I should say. Because of the allegations against Bruce surrounding his entire family, they basically need Bruce to step down as CEO temporarily until the investigation is resolved. And for the time being, they've actually hired Oswald Cobblepot as the figurehead and basically the CEO of the company for the time being, like I said, until the investigation clears. So Batman having to deal with Lady Arkham, aka Vicky Vale, Penguin, aka Oswald Cobblepot, Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, all at once would basically give Batman all he can handle from the Batman aspect of things, as well as trying to win his company back from the Bruce Wayne aspect of things. So like I said, this is like the perfect origin story. Having to take out these three villains in one fell swoop is amazing. And I know Season 2 had even better villain selection, but this was good from a standpoint of Batman basically having to dig his way back from the bottom, and Bruce Wayne having to dig his way back from the bottom, and work his way back up to the top. And that's why I think this is the perfect origin story. So let me know what you guys think of this game down in the comments below. Did you guys enjoy Batman the Telltale series? Let me know why or why not down in the comments below. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoy, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!